The moment Laura's Pitbull clamped its jaws around my disabled son's arm, something inside me broke. I didn't scream. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed a rake from the yard and swung until the dog yelped. But that wasn't enough. By nightfall, I'd shatter her authority, her fence, and her smug sense of control. This is the story of how a neighborhood tyrant fell and how we made sure she'd never rise again. It was a crisp Saturday morning in our suburban Ohio neighborhood, the kind where kids ride bikes and lawns are manicured to HOA perfection. My son, Ethan, 9 years old and unable to walk since birth, was testing his new wheelchair in our driveway. He'd spent days decorating the wheels with silver stickers shaped like comets, grinning like he was piloting a spaceship. I watched from the porch, coffee in hand, letting him feel free. He dragged a piece of yellow chalk across the sidewalk, sketching swirls that looked like galaxies. His laughter was the only sound I cared about until her voice cut through. You know the rules. Keep that chair off my lawn. Laura stood at her gate, hands on hips, clutching a decorative stone like a grenade. She was the HOA president, a self-appointed queen in pressed khakis and a pearl necklace. Before I could respond, she hurled the stone. It struck Ethan's temple with a sickening crack. His wheelchair lurched, nearly tipping. Blood trickled down his cheek. My coffee mug shattered on the ground. Then came the dog. A black and gray pit bull exploded from Laura's yard. No leash, no warning. Its paws pounded the pavement, eyes locked on Ethan. He screamed a sound that tore through me. The dog leapt, slamming into his chest, teeth sinking into his arm. Blood stained his shirt. I don't remember running. Only the rake in my hands, the metal cracking against the dog's skull. It yelped, stumbling back. I hit again, ribs this time, until it retreated, whimpering. Ethan sobbed, clutching his arm, his wheelchair pinned against the curb. Laura dared to shout, "You're on restricted property. I've reported you to the HOA." My hands shook, not with fear, but with a rage I could barely contain. I turned to her, rake still in hand. She wasn't done, but neither was I. Laura stood there, clutching her clipboard, smirking as if she'd won. "I warned you," she said, stepping closer in her pristine sneakers. "Your kid crossed the grass line. My dog was protecting HOA property." I dropped the rake, stormed toward her, and yanked the keys from her belt loop. She gasped, but I was faster. I snatched her clipboard, smashed it against the pavement until it splintered, and grabbed my belt. In seconds, I'd bound her wrists, dragging her to the HOA's iron fence. She screamed, "This is assault. I'll have you evicted." I looped the belt through the bars, pulling it tight. "You sicked a dog on my son and called it policy," I growled, locking the buckle. "You're not a leader. You're a bully with a leash." Her face twisted with fury, but she was stuck, blouse torn, dignity in tatters. Neighbors peeked from windows. I lifted Ethan, placed him back in his chair, and wheeled him home. Laura's screams faded behind us, but I wasn't finished. Not by a mile. By morning, Laura had escalated. A laminated HOA sign stood on my lawn, "Restricted Zone. Mobility devices require registration or relocation." In red spray paint. "This isn't a playground." Ethan peeked from the window, whispering, "Is she still mad?" Mad. No. Laura was a dictator in pearls, and dictators don't get mad, they get cruel. A notice arrived, taped to our door, $250 fine for disorderly conduct, threatening an HOA officer, and unregistered medical equipment. My blood boiled. I marched to her house. She sat in a lawn chair, sipping lemonade, flanked by 2 HOA board members. "Back for more," she said, smirking. "That wheelchair's unregistered. It's a violation." I stepped closer. "It's my son's lifeline, not a lawnmower." She stood unfazed. "HOA rules are law. Maybe you're not used to accountability." I pointed to the sign on my lawn. "You don't enforce order. You weaponize it." She laughed. "Sue me. Or leave." Her pit bull appeared, unleashed, a speck of blood still on its jaw. I walked away, but a plan was forming. That night, I called 2 old friends. First, Tom, a former Army K-9 trainer who could read a dog's behavior like a book. "I've got a pit bull being used as a weapon," I said. HOA boss. Targeted my disabled son. He didn't hesitate. Name the time. Next, I called Sarah, a lawyer who'd dismantled corrupt HOAs in court. "You got proof?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "But I will." At 3 a.m., I slipped into the HOA shed. Laura bragged about its security cameras, keypad locks. Lies. The lock was cheap, bypassed in seconds. Inside, I found a filing cabinet labeled board only. Jackpot. Documents on K9 enforcement training. Photos of a wheelchair mannequin shredded by bite marks, and a log titled Perimeter Defense. Laura hadn't just neglected her dog. She'd trained it to target kids like Ethan. I photographed everything, my hands shaking with certainty. This was war. By dawn, my dining table was a war room. I printed flyers. Your HOA dues fund a weapon. I slipped them into mailboxes at 4 a.m. By noon, neighbors texted, "Is this true?" A woman, Claire, knocked on my door, trembling. "I have video from the attack," she whispered. She played it. Ethan's chalk swirls, the dog's charge, Laura watching, smiling. I exhaled. This changes everything. That evening, I hosted a meeting in my garage. No HOA approval, just coffee and truth. 15 neighbors came. An elderly man showed a stack of fines for his mailbox color. A couple shared how Laura threatened them over a bird feeder. A teen said her dog chased him for skating. I stood, voice steady. She thrives on our silence. No more. I handed out copies of the shed documents. At the next HOA meeting, speak up. You're not alone. The room erupted in applause. The HOA meeting was packed, standing room only. Laura strode in, Pitbull at her side, smug as ever. She tapped her gavel. First item, a complaint about animal behavior. I stood. I'm not complaining. I'm exposing. I laid the folder on the table. This proves you trained your dog to attack kids in wheelchairs. She scoffed. Fabricated nonsense. Claire stood. I have video. The room went silent as it played. Ethan's screams, the dog's teeth, Laura's smile. Tom spoke next. That dog was commanded, not instinctive. This was deliberate. Laura's voice cracked. You don't understand HOA rules. I stepped forward. You're not the law. You're the problem. The crowd chanted, vote her out. Someone grabbed her gavel. Laura fled the room, her power crumbling. The courtroom was small, fluorescent lights flickering. Laura sat in a tailored suit, her lawyer spinning tales of instinctive dog behavior. Sarah presented our case, the documents, the video, and Tom's testimony. The judge's face hardened as the video played. Ms. Thompson, you did not attempt to stop the attack. Laura stammered. I thought he'd move. Sarah snapped. He's in a wheelchair. The ruling came swiftly. Laura was guilty of endangerment, harassment, and HOA abuse. She was fined, barred from HOA roles, and her dog was taken for retraining. As she was escorted out, she hissed, "This isn't over." I met her gaze. "It is for you." Weeks later, Ethan still flinched at barking dogs. But one morning, he asked, "Can I go outside?" He rolled to the sidewalk, chalk in hand, and drew comets again. In shaky letters, he wrote, "This is safe now." 2 kids joined him, one with a leashed spaniel. Ethan hesitated, then petted its ear. He smiled. The HOA reformed. Laura's rules were scrapped, fines erased. A park bench was dedicated to Ethan, a symbol of resilience. The iron fence Laura built? Torn down in a neighborhood celebration. Kids ran free, laughing. I declined a board seat. I protect one kid, I said. That's enough. Laura was gone, but her shadow lingered. She taught us that cruelty can hide behind rules, that power can look like a clipboard. But we learned something stronger. Silence lets tyrants thrive. We broke hers with the truth. Ethan doesn't fear dogs anymore. He wants to be a lawyer, but with a dog. I laughed. That's my boy. Some say revenge doesn't heal. But when your child bleeds under a dog's jaws while a tyrant smirks, peace isn't enough. Laura's empire fell because we refused to stay quiet. And we'll never let another like her rise. What do you think? Was my response to Laura's violence justified, or did I go too far? Have you faced a bully hiding behind rules? Share your thoughts below. Stand up, speak out, and let's keep this conversation going.